An American tourist arrived in Tallinn, excited to film the medieval skyline with his drone. He launched it right above Town Hall Square, smiling as it drifted over rooftops. 2 minutes later, a municipal officer approached him, waving. "Sir, you can't fly that here." The American blinked. "Why not? It's just a drone. It's my right to film public places." The officer explained, Old Town is a protected heritage zone. No drones allowed without a permit. The tourist frowned, lowering the controller slowly. "But I bought this for travel freedom." The officer added, "Freedom doesn't mean unrestricted airspace." People nearby watched as he awkwardly tried to land the drone, nearly hitting a church wall. When he finally caught it, he muttered, "In America, nobody cares where you fly these." A man passing by shrugged. "That's why Europe has fewer incidents."
An American tourist wandered through a playground in Antwerp, taking photos of the charming scenery. He snapped a picture of children playing simply because he thought it captured European atmosphere. Within seconds, two parents approached him sharply. "Delete that photo," one said. The American froze. "What? Why? It's a free country." The mother replied firmly, "You cannot photograph children without permission." He tried to defend himself, "But it's a public place." A father nearby added, "Public doesn't mean permissionless." Realizing the seriousness, the American deleted the photos, red-faced and awkward. As he walked away, he muttered, "In the US, nobody cares about this." A passerby overheard and said, "In Europe, privacy is freedom."
A group of American friends booked a historic apartment in Krakow, thrilled by its old brick walls and vintage windows. By nightfall, they had speakers blasting music, dancing like it was a Vegas suite. 20 minutes later, a knock echoed through the hall. The neighbor, an elderly Polish woman, stood there holding a robe tightly around her. "No parties. This building is quiet," she said firmly. The Americans laughed politely. "Oh, we're just having fun. It's our vacation. Freedom, right?" She shook her head. "Freedom doesn't mean disturbing everyone." Within minutes, the building manager arrived, explaining that loud noise after 10 p.m. could result in police intervention. The group stood frozen, realizing the seriousness. As the music shut off abruptly, one whispered, "Man, back home people do this every weekend." His friend replied, "Yeah, but back home doesn't have 500-year-old buildings with thin walls." An American tourist strolls into a Parisian park, cigarette in hand, expecting a carefree afternoon. The park guard approaches and politely says, "Sorry, no smoking here." The American, clearly puzzled, asks, "What do you mean? This is supposed to be freedom." The guard calmly explains, "In France, smoking is only allowed in designated areas." The tourist, growing increasingly confused, insists, "But in America, we can smoke anywhere we want." The guard smiles and says, "Here, we also value freedom, but we also value public health." The American stands still for a moment, processing the difference. With a sigh, he reluctantly walks away, whispering under his breath, "This feels too regulated for freedom." An American traveler stepped into a traditional Finnish sauna in Helsinki wearing gym shorts and a t-shirt. He sat awkwardly on the bench, feeling the heat rising. A Finnish man entered, nodded politely, and then paused. "You should remove clothes. It's sauna culture," he said. The American panicked. "Whoa, I have the freedom to dress how I want." The man shrugged. "In sauna, freedom means following tradition." Two more locals entered, calmly sitting with towels, unfazed by the heat. The American felt out of place, sweat dripping as he questioned everything. He finally whispered, "Is this like mandatory?" One of the Finns replied, "Not mandatory, just respectful." After a long hesitation, he slowly removed his shirt, settling into the silence. Later he said, "Back home, freedom is doing whatever. Here,
freedom is doing what everyone already silently agreed on.
An American tourist bought a bottle of Vinho Verde in Porto and casually popped it open while strolling through Ribeira. Almost instantly, a police officer approached. "Sir, you can't drink alcohol on the street here." The tourist stared at him. "But I just bought it. I'm literally supporting the local economy." The officer pointed toward cafes and designated terraces. "You can drink there, not on public streets." The American scoffed. "In the US, we walk around with drinks all the time." A passerby overheard and chuckled. "Yes, and you also have many public intoxication laws, no?" The American felt his cheeks warm. "Well, yeah, but it's different." He reluctantly tucked the bottle away, mumbling, "This is not what freedom feels like." A local man smiled. "Here, freedom is enjoying the drink, not disturbing the street."
An American tourist, feeling confident in her freedom, strolls onto a beach in Vienna, ready to enjoy the sun in her bikini top. A lifeguard approaches her and kindly asks, "Excuse me, but we ask that you cover up here." The tourist laughs, thinking it's some sort of joke. "Wait, what? In America, women go topless all the time on beaches." The lifeguard responds, "In Austria, we have designated areas for topless sunbathing. It's a cultural difference, but we have rules." The American, visibly puzzled, mutters, "But isn't freedom about doing whatever you want?" With a sigh, she begrudgingly covers up, trying to understand why her version of freedom doesn't seem to apply here. An American tourist books a cozy B&B in Edinburgh, excited for a relaxing stay. The next morning, he wakes up and strolls downstairs for breakfast, ready to dive into the day. To his surprise, the host greets him with a stern smile and points to the clock. "Breakfast is served at 8 a.m., and we don't have flexibility on the time," the host says. The American stands there, frozen. "But I'm on vacation. Don't I get a little more freedom to sleep in?" The host just nods. "You're welcome to sleep more, but breakfast is at 8. That's how we run things here." A little thrown off, the American sits down at the table, his stomach still a little groggy from the early wake-up. As he sips his tea, he wonders, in the US, breakfast is whenever I say it is. Why does freedom feel so structured here? An American tourist in Amsterdam walks into a beautiful museum, eagerly pulling out his phone to snap photos of the stunning exhibits. He's immediately approached by a staff member who asks them to turn his phone off. "Sorry, sir, no photos allowed," the staff member says, pointing to the signs. The American laughs. "Wait, no photos? But this is the best stuff. In America, we take photos everywhere. I'm free to capture this moment." The staff member smiles and replies, "We believe in experiencing art without distractions. Please enjoy the moment." The American grumbles, confused by the sudden limit on his freedom. As he sits down to admire the paintings, his phone still firmly in his pocket, he realizes how much more calm the European approach feels. He wonders, maybe some rules actually help you enjoy life without interruptions. An American tourist walks into a Prague clinic with a mild cold and demands a full set of medical tests and an in-depth diagnosis. The doctor looks at him and says, "You have a cold. Rest, drink fluids, and you'll be fine." The American is shocked. But in America, I'd be given blood tests, antibiotics, and a whole treatment plan. The doctor calmly responds, "Here, we focus on the basics first. No need for tests unless absolutely necessary." The American leaves the clinic, still puzzled by the lack of extreme treatment, thinking to himself, "I guess freedom is just a little too efficient here." An American tourist excited to explore Berlin hops onto the subway without a second thought, expecting to simply ride through the city like he would at home. He walks confidently through the turnstile, only to be stopped by a subway guard. "Excuse me, sir, but you need to validate your ticket first," the guard says, pointing toward the machine. The American blinks, looking confused. "Wait, you're telling me I can't just get on?" The guard nods.
In Germany, we expect everyone to validate tickets to keep the system running smoothly. The American feels a brief panic, unsure whether he's just made a huge social faux pas. He digs out his ticket, scanning it with a frustrated sigh. As he boards the train, he thinks, in America, they just assume you'll pay. Why are things so structured here? An American college student, eager to experience London's pub culture, walks confidently to the bar and orders a pint. The bartender looks him over and asks for his ID. Sure, says the student, digging into his pocket for his American driver's license. The bartender glances at it and then says, sorry, mate. The legal drinking age in the UK is 18, not 21. The American stares back, speechless. Wait, I'm 20. I can't drink? I thought I was good to go. The bartender nods. In the US, you can drink at 21, but here, it's 18. That's our freedom. The student is left standing there, unsure if he should laugh or be frustrated by the freedom that feels like a limitation. An American tourist steps into the Louvre, eager to see the art and skip the line. As he walks toward the entrance, he's told to stand in line despite seeing a sea of empty space in the front. Wait, what? But there's no one up there, he says, gesturing toward the unattended gate. The attendant smiles politely. You must wait in the line. Everyone follows the same procedure. He protests, but in America, if there's space, we just walk right through. The attendant, unbothered, explains, here it's about equality and process. We wait our turn. The American stands, increasingly annoyed by the pointless wait, watching the orderly European system unfold with an increasing sense of disbelief. By the time he reaches the entrance, he mutters under his breath, guess freedom isn't as flexible here. An American tourist steps into a public restroom in Rome after a long day of sightseeing. He uses the toilet, then reaches for the paper towel to dry his hands. But there's none. Perplexed, he looks around, thinking it's some sort of joke. Where are the paper towels? He wonders aloud, his voice rising. A local woman who's washing her hands calmly points to the air dryer. Over there, she says, not even looking up. The American, still irritated, walks over and tries to use the air dryer. It takes a long time, and his hands are still a bit damp. Seriously? No paper towels? Where's my freedom to dry my hands the way I want? He mutters to himself. Back home, they have paper towels everywhere. But as he walks out of the restroom, he realizes that sometimes in Europe, freedom means just letting go of what you're used to and adjusting to a different rhythm. I drive a taxi in Porto, and an American tourist jumped in looking frantic. Can you take me to the cathedral? Fast, like really fast. I nodded and started driving normally. He leaned forward, whispering urgently, No, American fast. I told him traffic cameras would find me if I sped. He sighed dramatically. In America, taxis know how to hustle. Then we hit a roundabout. He grabbed the seat, knuckles white. Why are we going in circles? Is something wrong? I'd said it's a roundabout. That's how we drive here. He looked betrayed. By the time we arrived, 10 minutes earlier than the GPS predicted, he stepped out shaky, mumbling, This city is too calm and too chaotic at the same time. I still don't know what that means. At a bus stop in Oslo, an American man kept pacing, checking the timetable and his watch. The bus was 2 minutes late. He muttered, This is how civilization collapses. A local woman calmly said, It will come soon. He laughed nervously. In America, when transportation is late, we start making backup escape plans. She shrugged. Here, we wait. Then something unexpected happened. The man sighed, sat on the bench, and admitted quietly, I'm not used to trusting systems. It feels strange, but kind of nice. When the bus finally arrived, he stepped on with his shoulders lower, almost relaxed. Sometimes the shock wasn't chaos. It was realizing things could work without stress.
He said thank you to the driver twice, as if experiencing peace for the first time.
I guide walking tours in Krakow, and an American guest kept raising his hand after every sentence. Finally, I asked, "Why are you doing that?" He said, "In America, raising your hand is respectful." I told him, "Here, you can just talk." He hesitated, then tried speaking without permission and immediately blushed. He looked around like he'd broken an international rule. The group chuckled, and he whispered, "This feels illegal." By the end of the tour, he was still raising his hand, sometimes out of habit. Europe didn't reject him. He just couldn't stop being accidentally polite. An American pulled into Luxembourg City and parked wherever he found space, like he'd do in the US. Minutes later, a parking officer appeared. "Sir, this is residential permit only." The American rolled his eyes. "It's an empty space. I'm free to park where I want." The officer shook his head. Here, freedom doesn't override rules. He received a fine and an education in European parking culture. If you've ever realized your freedom doesn't apply exactly the same abroad, drop your story below. We actually read them. And if you're American, relax. We know how it feels when freedom doesn't look like it does at home. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more cultural chaos and reality checks. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a story about how the world outside America truly works.